Hey, geometry, and welcome to our first lesson. As we start to get into geometry, we're going to have to start by building a list of some vocabulary words, just making sure we're on the same page, that we all understand what I mean when I'm referring to these things. Okay, so initially today we're going to start with some vocabulary words, and then as we kind of build this list that we can go on, we'll learn how to apply them in the next few days. Okay, so our first word is a point. And I'm guessing you guys know the concept of a point. It's found oftentimes on like a graph. We'll have a specific point. The key thing to know about a point is that it has no dimension. Now, what I mean by that is it's just a very specific spot. We can't really measure a point. It's just that one exact spot on our graph. Okay. On the other hand, a line is going to extend, okay? So a line will extend out in one dimension. Now, some of you might be thinking it goes in two directions, and I agree with you. It goes in two directions, but that is just one dimension. And something key to look at here, this line, it goes through these 2 points, and it's symbolized right here by AB with this double arrow over the top. A line extends forever in both directions. Okay, so that's why it has an arrow on each side. Okay. Now, AB would be a correct name for this line. You also could call that BA. However, the key is to put that double arrow over the top. It could go either way. With a line, it doesn't matter the order as long as you have 2 points that are on the line and you can name them. Okay. Now a plane. This is usually something like a tabletop or a wall. It extends kind of out. This one's going to extend in two directions, both horizontal and vertical. So if you think of like my whiteboard, it extends to either side and then also up and down. When you go see a normal movie in the theaters, it's normally in 2 dimensions, okay? Now, sometimes they have a 3D movie where it also comes out at you like that, okay? So, in our case, though, a plane is 2-dimensional. Okay, so take a look now. This next vocabulary word, collinear points. And hopefully, you see a couple parts here. First thing here, co. Okay, so think about some other words that start with co. Your coworker, if you collaborate, if you cooperate, okay, all of these are done together, or someone else you work with is a coworker, right? So they're kind of associated together. And linear over here, the second part, or right in the middle there, line, okay? So collinear points are points that lie on the same line. All right, so if we look over here, A, B, and C would all be collinear because they're all on that same line. Okay, so now our next one, coplanar points. Coplanar points, very similar to this, except instead of being on the same line, hopefully you can make this connection, they are going to be on the same plane. Okay, so points that lie on the same plane. And you'll see this picture over here. In reality, that plane extends forever on each of these 4 sides, but in order to kind of draw it, we can't go forever with our drawing, so it has to have an ending. Okay, so all of these 3 points would be coplanar because they're on the same plane. Now next, our line segment is going to be part of a line that consists of 2 points called our endpoints, and then all the space in between that. So 2 points called the endpoints. And the space that's on the line between those endpoints. Now, when we put the symbol for a segment, you'll notice here it does not have arrows on the sides, and that's because those endpoints are kind of the stopping points on our segment. Okay, it's like this: one endpoint, two endpoints, and everything in between is the segment. Okay, now likewise with a line, AB could also go the other way and be BA. With a segment, order does not matter either. Now our next one, array. For this one, order is crucial. Array is going to start somewhere. Okay, it's part of a line and it consists of an initial point. Okay, a point that's known as our initial point. And if you think about your initials, for example, Matthew Fox, my initials are MF. It's the starting letter, okay, where each of my names begin. So our array consists of a point known as our initial point, and then it only extends in one direction. Okay, so the points on the line that extend in one direction. And if we look here, we have two examples of array. Now, the symbol will always go to the right. No matter what my array looks like, that symbol will always go to the right. And your initial point always has to be first. So right here, this array points to the right, and A is the initial point, so AB. Now this next one, the array points to the left. However, the symbol still goes to the right, except we start at the initial point, which in our case here is B. All right, so now we're almost done with our vocabulary. Two more. Opposite rays. If we think ray like a ray of sunshine, it starts at that point and it extends. Now opposite, we know opposite means they go, it's kind of a hard word to describe without using the word, but they go in comparison to each other, they're going opposite directions. Okay, so here this line goes that way, this line goes that way. They both start at C. C is the initial point for both of them. We have opposite rays, they're going to have the same initial point, okay, but they extend in opposite directions. Okay, and our next one, intersection, is when we have two or more figures, just like a road. When the roads intersect, the intersection is where the stoplight is, right? Two or more roads cross. Okay, so two or more geometric figures. So maybe it's two lines that cross, or it could be three lines that cross. And where they cross, that's our intersection. Okay. And these geometric figures, the spot where they share in common, that is the intersection point. All right, so now let's take a look here, and as we practice talking about these vocabulary words, so collinear here. Collinear, remember, means on the same line. So if we have to name 3 points that are collinear, we look over here. D, A, and C, they're all on a line right there. Okay, that would be an example. Now, as I go through this isn't always the only example. However, I'm finding one example for each of these. Okay, so now, letter B says name 3 points that are coplanar. Okay, so as long as they're on this plane, they work. So we could do like A, C, and B. Now, letter C says name 4 points that are not coplanar. That does not mean that they can't, some of them can't be on the same plane, however, they can't all be on the same plane. Okay, so if I did like D, B, C, and E, so D, B, and C here are on the plane, E is up above. You could also argue that D, E, and C are on the same plane. It's not drawn on here, but it could be extended up and over around. But then B would not be on it. Okay. Now, for example D, we want to look down below here. and it says name 3 points in the diagram that are not collinear. Okay, so in order for them to not be collinear, they can't all be on the same line. I could name C and D, those are on a line, but the third point, B, is not collinear with them. And then finally it says name the point in the diagram that is coplanar with points A, D, and E. So A, D, E, it's kind of on the front here. If we think about it, A, D, E. So if we shade that front side, the fourth point that's coplanar, right over here, H. All right, so the final thing I want to talk about here is here it asks us to draw these lines, segments, and rays. Okay, so it says follow the directions below using the non-collinear points A, B, C, and D. So A, B, C, and D, what it means by non-collinear is they're spread out here. They're not all in one line. If it was A, B, C was here, and D was there, and they went in a line, then they would all be collinear. They're non-collinear because they're not all forming a line. Now we look here, and the first thing I want us to do is identify on number 1, is this a segment, a line, or a ray? So we check here, and there's no arrows, which means it's going to be a segment. Okay, so now we need to draw it from A to B. It does not continue. A to B, and we're done. Okay, so our next one. Draw, this one is a ray because it extends in one direction. Now the key part about this one is it has to start at the initial point, or it has to start at B. And it will extend through C, so B extending out, and then put that arrow on the end. Now my lines or rays or segments might not be perfectly straight, but imagine they are. They should be. Okay, so our next one, CD here. This one is known as a line because it has 2 arrows. It continues in 2 directions. It goes through C and D, and it extends in both directions forever. Okay, so our next one, DA. This one is another ray, and its initial point will be D. So it starts here at D. Ooh, that was bad. Let me see if I can fix that. All right, so I still got to work on my skills on this computer, but hopefully you get the idea. It extends from the initial point and continues forever. Okay, and our final one now, let's see, I haven't used this code, is ray BD. So it's also a ray, starts at the initial point B, and it continues like that. Okay, so hope you have a great rest of your day. Please send me an email if you have any questions about any of this vocabulary or how to do it. Take a look at the Quizlets. It's kind of a vocabulary review. Okay, so I've linked it for you guys to take a look at that and review some of these words so that you are ready for tomorrow. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.